has Southeast Asia finally lost its grip on international Mobile Legends? For years, the answer would have been an easy no. If you wanted to win a world championship, you had to beat the Philippines. If you wanted to understand the meta, you copied Indonesia. If you wanted elite mechanical talent, Southeast Asia was where you looked. But 2026 has started to tell a different story. New regions are no longer showing up just to compete. They're showing up expecting to win. So are we witnessing the end of Southeast Asia's dominance? Or is this simply the beginning of a far more competitive era? Welcome back to Mobile Legends News. Ever since the early days of MLBB esports, Southeast Asia has been the heart of the competitive scene. The Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Myanmar helped shape professional play through stronger regional leagues, deeper talent pools, and culture that constantly pushed the game's strategic evolution. International tournaments regularly featured Southeast Asian representatives lifting trophies while other regions struggled to keep pace. However, the 2026 season has introduced a noticeable shift. With Moonton's expanded global esports ecosystem, stronger regional leagues, and more international opportunities through the new competitive structure, teams from outside Southeast Asia have developed faster than ever before. Recent tournaments have shown that victories against Southeast Asian powerhouses are no longer viewed as impossible events. They're becoming legitimate expectations. That raises one of the biggest questions in Mobile Legends esports today. Is Southeast Asia actually losing its dominance, or has the rest of the world simply become good enough to challenge it? To answer whether Southeast Asia's dominance is ending, we need to separate emotion from reality. Whether a Philippine or Indonesian team gets eliminated earlier than expected, the immediate reaction from fans is always the same. Southeast Asia is washed. But one tournament alone doesn't erase years of success. Instead, we need to look at what actually changed throughout 2026, and more importantly, what MSC 2026 revealed about the rest of the world. The biggest difference isn't that Southeast Asia suddenly became weak. It's that the gap between Southeast Asia and everyone else has become significantly smaller. Throughout MSC 2026, several matches showed that teams from emerging regions could comfortably challenge the traditional favorites. In previous international tournaments, many wildcard representatives were expected to lose through weaker drafting, poorer macro decisions, or simple mechanical differences. This year, however, those weaknesses were far less noticeable. Teams entered every series with clear identities, well-prepared draft strategies, disciplined objective control, and confidence against organizations that once looked untouchable. Perhaps the clearest example came from Team Liquid PH's elimination. As defending international champions, many expected them to make another deep tournament run. Instead, they were knocked out much earlier than fans anticipated. While disappointing for Philippine supporters, the result said just as much about quality of their opponents as it did about Liquid's own performance. The same pattern appeared across multiple series during MSC. Several Southeast Asian teams were pushed to their limits instead of comfortably controlling games from start to finish. Matches that should have been considered routine victories became long competitive battles decided by a single Lord fight, one successful pickoff, or a perfectly executed team fight. That alone tells us something important. The international field has never been stronger. One major reason for this transformation is the new competitive ecosystem introduced by Moonton throughout 2026. The expansion of regional competitions gave more teams meaningful high-level matches before reaching international events. Instead of relying on only one or two elite organizations carrying an entire region, multiple teams gained experience against increasingly competitive domestic opposition. That experience matters far more than many fans realize. Strong regions aren't created simply because they have talented players. They're created because every week, top teams are forced to solve difficult strategic problems against opponents who continue improving. Better practice creates better drafts. Better drafts create stronger macro play, and stronger macro eventually produces international contenders. For years, Southeast Asia enjoyed that advantage almost exclusively. Now, other regions have begun building the exact same foundation. Another factor is how information spreads throughout modern MLBB esports. Several years ago, Southeast Asian teams discovered new strategies first. They pioneered lane assignments, objective trading, jungle pathing, hero priorities, and teamfight execution that everyone else copied months later. Today, that advantage barely exists. Professional scrims happen across regions. Tournament replays are available almost immediately. Coaches analyze hundreds of games. Draft innovations spread within days instead of entire seasons. Every organization has access to the same statistics, the same hero data, and the same official patch notes. Knowledge itself is no longer exclusive to Southeast Asia. That means success increasingly depends on execution rather than simply discovering the meta first. MSC 2026 demonstrated exactly that. Many international teams drafted confidently into compositions that traditionally favored Southeast Asia. Rather than banning comfort picks out of respect, they challenged them directly. Instead of trying to survive the early game, they actively fought for neutral objectives, invaded jungle camps, and punished overextensions. Those are not the decisions of teams hoping to keep games close. Those are the decisions of teams expecting to win. Of course, that doesn't mean Southeast Asia has stood completely still. The region continues producing world-class mechanical players, outstanding coaches, and incredibly deep talent pools. MPL Philippines and MPL Indonesia remain among the strongest domestic leagues in Mobile Legends. Individual brilliance remains one of Southeast Asia's greatest strengths, and many of the tournament's best performances still come from Southeast Asian stars. The issue is that individual talent alone is no longer enough. Other regions have improved their macro understanding at an incredible pace. Their drafting has become far more flexible. Their communication under pressure looks cleaner than ever, and most importantly, they no longer enter international tournaments intimidated by famous organizations or championship histories. Confidence changes everything. When players believe they belong on the same stage, they make more decisive calls, contest more objectives, and trust their preparation rather than their opponent's reputation. That psychological barrier may be the biggest change of all. For years, defeating a Philippine or Indonesian representative felt almost impossible. Many teams entered international tournaments hoping simply to avoid embarrassing losses. That mindset has disappeared. Instead, organizations now enter expecting competitive series against anyone in the bracket. We have seen rising teams embrace aggressive drafting, unconventional hero priorities, and fearless early game plays against Southeast Asian giants. Rather than copying Southeast Asia's identity, they're developing styles that reflect their own regional strengths. This diversity has made international tournaments much harder to predict because there is no longer a correct way to play Mobile Legends at the highest level. So, has Southeast Asia actually stagnated? The answer is probably no. Southeast Asia continues evolving alongside every new patch, every new balance update, and every competitive season. Teams still innovate, develop young talent, and maintain incredibly high standards. The difference is that the rate of improvement elsewhere has accelerated dramatically. Think of it like a race. If one runner keeps getting faster but everyone behind them improves even more quickly, the leader eventually loses their comfortable advantage. Not because they've declined, but because everyone else has finally caught up. That feels much closer to what we're seeing today. MSC 2026 wasn't a tournament where Southeast Asia suddenly forgot how to play Mobile Legends. It was a tournament where nearly every region arrived prepared to challenge the old hierarchy. The expanded international ecosystem has created stronger regional champions, better coaching infrastructure, and far more opportunities for elite competition before teams ever reach the global stage. Those investments are now producing visible results. So, is this just a one-off tournament? Well, it's certainly possible that Southeast Asia responds by winning the next major international event, given the talent across the Philippines, Indonesia, and the rest of the region, and nobody should be surprised if Southeast Asia lifts another trophy very soon. But even if that happens, the conversation has already changed. MSC 2026 may ultimately be remembered as one of the biggest turning points in Mobile Legends esports history. Not because Southeast Asia suddenly became weak, but because the rest of the world finally proved it could consistently compete at the highest level. Whether the Philippines, Indonesia, or another Southeast Asian powerhouse reclaims complete international dominance in future tournaments remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that global competition has never been deeper. Every region is improving. Every international event feels less predictable, and winning a world-class MLBB tournament is no longer something any single region can simply expect. The era of unquestioned Southeast Asian dominance may not be over, but the era of genuine global competition has definitely arrived. Now I want to hear from you. Do you believe this tournament marks the beginning of a completely new era for international MLBB esports? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Mobile Legends News, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest MLBB news, esports analysis, and tournament coverage. Till next time.